Welcome back to Indie Housing Market. I'm Kyle.morris with Morris Property Group and FC Tucker.
I'm Shelly Walters with the Shelly Walters Realty Group and FC Tucker.
And we have a special guest. We have Paul Kaiser on. I'll let you introduce yourself. I'm sure a lot of people already know who you are, but for those who don't, let you introduce yourself.
Paul Kaiser, proud superintendent at Westfield Washington School. I'm in my 4th year at Westfield and my 44th overall.
44th year. That's amazing. We were talking about it, and he's up here in Westfield as a superintendent, but we have connections back to, I'm from Martinsville originally. He was in Monrovia. He was a basketball coach. He actually coached my cousin in high school. Excuse me. It's just kind of some neat stuff. You've been around, quite honestly.
Tell us that background, because you told us, but tell everybody what all you've done.
Well, I always go back to my days at St. Andrews Elementary School at 30th and Forest Manor. It's part of who I am. My dad was a policeman, and my mother was a secretary. I'm the youngest of 3 siblings. All went through St. Andrews, and my brother and I went to Cathedral. One sister went to Cecina, class of 69. The other, Chatard of 72, brother 66, and I'm 75. But I think it's, my dad was a policeman, grew up middle class, and same house from the time I was, actually the first house, 34th and Sherman, my grandpa, who's from Lagodi, built it. I was the 4th kid. We moved to 42nd and Emerson and stayed there until I went off to college. I played 3 sports in high school, Cathedral, went to Ball State on a basketball scholarship, and more importantly, I was on the all-academic team.
What position?
The bench. I tell people kind of a funny story. I played against Larry Bird. I've got the box score. He scored 26. I scored 2. And
hey, that's 2 more than I've ever scored against Larry Bird.
But I guess what I really learned about leadership and organization through all that, and I was a good student in college. High school, I joke, I had a 1.9 GPA at the end of my sophomore year, and my coach showed me some letters and said, hey, they're going to give you a full ride. And I kind of said, yeah, I better start studying, and I did. And, but like I said, I graduated from Ball State, did my master's in 79, 80, taught at Kokomo Hayworth, which is now combined back to Kokomo High School. I taught business and accounting, driver's ed.
That had to have been horrible.
Well, it was really horrible teaching driver's ed at Monrovia, back in the hollers and back and forth. That was scary sometimes.
That's so funny, because you were a coach. My driver's ed teacher was our football coach, and all the cheerleaders were in my car, and we'd drive through and get ice cream, and he's like, you need to learn how to do a drive-through.
We did that more than once. In fact, I used to
we did that too.
I take the driver's ed car. We'd go pick up stuff for basketball camp and things like that. But
that's what we did. Coach Wolf was my driver's ed coach.
Yeah. It's the real world,
Yeah, but I started teaching at Kokomo Hayworth. I left there to go to Monrovia to be head basketball coach. Ironically, my cousin Jim Kaiser was head football coach, and I was head basketball coach. Spent a year there, kind of got recruited to go back to Kokomo to Eastern High School, the Comets, and I was head basketball coach for 2 years, and Dr. Lindy Hill offered me the assistant principal's job. Our head football coach was Willard Rice. He was the principal and football coach. Mm-hmm. And I did that for 2 years, and went down to Decatur Central. Again, growing up in Indianapolis, I played a lot of basketball down there, and I was assistant principal for 1, high school principal for 11. Left there in 2000 to go to Noblesville to be assistant superintendent. I did that for 4.5 years, and then I went back to Monrovia to be superintendent, built a house down there, and my daughter's still mad at me for moving from Westfield to Monrovia, but they did fine. They're both teachers. One's in Florida waiting for a hurricane to hit.
Second hurricane.
So is my son and daughter-in-law.
Yeah, and my daughter, my middle daughter is in Brownsburg schools, and my other daughter lives on the south side. But I was at Monrovia, got asked to play at Beech Grove, where I used to play summer Legion baseball. Jim Hensley was on the school board, was my summer baseball coach, ironically. My best friend, Dave Ansett, taught there for 40 years, and so Beech Grove was home. I retired 4 years ago to go fishing, and kind of got recruited to go to Westfield, and that was 4 years ago. And again, I lived in Westfield for 12 years before I moved to Monrovia, so it's been really great. From the world's largest Dairy Queen in Westfield to growing 1,600 kids over the last 4 years.
And that's what
you've been
we
there for
wanted to
all
talk-
of the growth.
Yeah, literally. You've
You have
walked
been,
into
yeah.
some crazy stuff. So 1,600 kids in 4 years,
Mm-hmm.
and that's throughout all. Like, where's the biggest growth? What age levels?
It varies.
does?
For example, now as of yesterday, we're 10,020 kids. We're 3,000 kids at our high school. When I first moved to Westfield, almost 30 years ago, my daughter was a year old. She's 32 now. There was one elementary, and that was Washington Elementary School, which is currently the intermediate school building. The high school was on Union Street, and the middle school was on this side of Union Street, and a road went in between it.
So were they
I do
were they
remember that.
3A back then?
Actually, probably 2A
2A.
originally, but 3A.
Yeah. Wow.
But there were all three schools for the whole district were on the same site.
I do remember that.
And right there by where Riverview Hospital,
Yeah.
that was the baseball field, and the football field were there.
I
And
remember that.
and then my daughters played softball across the street, and where we now have tennis courts. But and now we have 6 elementary schools, and we're going to 8 by the fall of 26.
Did you walk into 6 elementary schools, or has
Yeah,
one-
6 elementary schools. They built those. We originally
Okay.
built Shamrock Springs Elementary with my daughters, and they went there. Then they built Cary Ridge Elementary School. Then they built Oak Trace, and then they built Washington Woods and moved Washington Elementary there. And then Washington Elementary became the intermediate school, which has been that we have 1,600 kids, 5th and 6th graders in one building. And
Oh my
then
gosh.
the middle school, when they built the new high school, the middle school combined, the middle school and high school combined together to make one middle school. And
You have 1,600 just 4th and 5th graders.
yeah,
in one
4th and
school.
5th graders.
In
I'm
one-
sorry, 5th and 6th
5th
graders.
and 6th graders in
We're
one
in
school.
one building, and then we have 1,600 7th and 8th graders. And so we're about a year behind where I think we should be, but it takes time to plan and organize. And
yeah.
Yeah, but Westfield, I'm trying to think. I can't really think of anything around here that is growing like that quickly. I mean, Mount Vernon, at where I'm at, is growing pretty quickly. Greenfield saw an influx, but not growth like that. So I've been up in Indianapolis for 24 years, right? So like I'm from Martinsville, I went to IU, and then we moved up here when I was like 21, 22. And so I've seen a lot. My in-laws lived on the north side, all that stuff in Noblesville. And if you would have asked me, let's call it, I've been doing this long enough, maybe 20 years ago, what Westfield has become is what I actually thought Noblesville was going to become, quite honestly. And it was really weird that it like pivoted, and not just like a little bit, like it almost went like Westfield just exploded in Noblesville. They didn't go stagnant by no means, but like
They're going
you guys
slower.
They're going much, much slower.
Yeah.
And it's just really interesting. Like I don't care how well you plan, there's just going to be bumps and bruises along the way with that kind of rapid growth. Right?
Supposedly through the United States, that's one of the fastest growing cities in the United States.
yeah, we're in the top 10.
Yeah.
Having been at Noblesville and looking at that growth, at one point in time, there was a discussion back in about 2004 with Hamilton Southeastern and Noblesville about taking Wayne Township into Noblesville schools. Now, we did a study with Dr. Boyd from Indiana State, and it was decided against that. But in 1980, in the early 80s, I went to the Hamilton Southeastern Tippy Valley State Football Championship at Lawrence Central, and Southeastern was a 2A school, and so we're now having the growth that Hamilton Southeastern had at that time. Dr. Clark was the superintendent back in those days. Then Chuck Leonard took over.
Because back around then, when that started growing, like where Ironwood Golf Course is, like that was cornfields.
Yeah.
Like that was nothing over there.
Well, like Ruel,
140
Deer Creek, whatever. I'm like, when they started building that, I'm like, who the heck's going to go all the way out there?
Well, you remember? So like, first of all, 146 was 2-lane. We were talking about that.
Yeah.
But like, you'd go to Deer Creek, and like your last stop was the McDonald's at 96th Street, right? Or whatever, or 116th Street, right? Because it was before the Target and all that stuff was there. And then you're like, where are we going?
Yeah, it's dark as heck. You
there
just
was
keep driving.
And then the next stop would be like Pine Lakes north of it or whatever.
Right.
Like there was nothing north of 116th.
One of my
really.
first houses to sell was on Prairie Baptist Road, and when I had
love
to
Prairie
drive
Baptist.
all the way out there, I thought, and it was over $1 million. I'm like, who's gonna spend that kind of money way out here?
Now there's a lot of them.
Yeah. I mean, it happened so fast. I was on the redistricting committee for 3 times for Carmel schools. And the first one I was on, they were doing the process of whether or not to have a second high school. So this was way back in the late 2000s. Mm-hmm. And they paid, they came in and they said, it's okay, we've paid $80,000 for a corporation of some sort to make a decision as to whether or not the population it was going to be for 2012, that there would be not much growth and it would start to decline in 2012. So we don't need to do that. And this was like 2006 or 8. I would love to get $80,000 to be able to say it's not going to happen. We all sat there at the table and went, what? Like, look at all the cornfields we have left to go. And they didn't do it then, and now, I mean, they said then there's no way they could replicate, have the same thing. So it was interesting to see Fisher split.
Well, we've done that demographic study now, and we've already outgrown that demographic study that we did a year ago in the fall. And you have to do that because, someone has to look at things. But the problem with the demographic study, it can only be done on live births. If you go to my office right now, the city of Westfield has done a great job. We've got this map of all the housing additions and the number of homes. And the amount of land that's being sold right now by the farmers, a lot of the farmers are selling it, going to Sheridan, Clinton County, buying twice as much land with that.
It's cheaper. Yeah.
So we work with the city, and so we've got a really good feel for what land's being sold. We're waiting for the cities, their plan on how they see the growth going, so we can plan right now. But we're talking about our 3rd middle school and our 9th and 10th elementary. But so to kind of give you an update of where we are right now in building. So again, I got here 4 years ago. We had to renew our referendum. We dropped the tax rate 3 cents because of the growth. We're growing our assessed valuation, which is the value of all the property within the school district or the city, whatever you're looking at. We're growing at 15%. And because so much of that is new homes, we can build whatever we need to build currently without touching the debt service tax rate. So if someone's taxes go up, it's not because we raised the tax rate. It's because your assessed valuation has gone up on existing.
And
we talk about that a lot.
We talk about nobody understands
the
property
numbers
taxes.
are really odd in Westfield. Like, we've been talking about it for years. Like, the actual resale inventory in Westfield is very, very low. But you look at how many houses are on the market, it tends to be
I split it out today just because with you here, just to really talk more about that. Yeah.
It's really, really odd. And then, like, some of the houses that are older, they've gone up in so much value because it's hard to get acreage, right?
Or supply and demand.
Even like an acre in Westfield, right?
My goodness.
I mean, I looked at one over in Westfield off of Spring Mill, and it was like $600 for a teardown, right? Like, I mean, just like that's the kind of prices that you're seeing, I have some questions I have one about Westfield, but I want to do the other one first. So, what is it like for you with that kind of growth when it comes to attraction, acquisition, and retention of teachers, right? Because, like, you also are literally up there. So when I deal with real estate, I have people and they're like, we're going to look at Westfield, Carmel, Fishers, right? And a little bit of Zionsville, right? But Zionsville's a little bit different feel, I guess. So, like, like when you're looking at somebody who wants Westfield, it tends to be those 3 in particular. And you got Carmel being voted one of the best places to live. Fisher's been voted one of the best places to live. And then you're talking about the assessed value and tax rates and all this stuff. And obviously taxes pay for teachers and all this other things. And so, do you think you're competitive? Do you think you need to be more competitive? Do you think the fact that there is so much growth that I can only imagine it would be difficult to be a teacher in dealing with that? And you're like, oh, like, hey, this is the elementary school that I'm working at, and then, like, you find out, like, oh, but I'm moving to the intermediate school in like 2 years that they haven't even broke ground on. Right. That's a little bit of ignorance on my part to know how those inner workings actually happen. But I just didn't know with that kind of growth. I look at some of the fields that I know about, like I do a lot around mental health and all these other things, and there is a massive shortage of employees in that industry. And so like I can only imagine that it's probably been like that in education as well, especially post COVID, because all of a sudden teachers went from like just teaching school to all of a sudden like they're just catching flack for going into for their job, and they're like, you're teaching this and you're teaching that and blah blah blah. And like I get all of that, but if you're just the teacher, you're like this isn't what I signed up for. And so I was just curious like how that plays out for you, or if you don't think it's an issue whatsoever.
Well, first of all, since you have flexible in your schedule, we're looking for bus drivers. We'll
Yeah.
get you certified.
Dude, I'd be the coolest bus driver. I used to want to drive a semi truck and be homeless. I've done one of them. I haven't drove a semi truck, and I think it'd be awesome.
Yeah. Well, we're 12 bus drivers short today.
12?
12.
What do you do when you have that issue?
The rest of the kids got to walk.
Well, actually, we have to. It's really important. We have to run double routes.
Whoa.
We have to communicate to parents the bus is going to be 30 minutes late. We had a big meeting on this morning.
Or early in the morning. That's probably a big headache too.
Well, the bottom line is we can't pick them up. They don't have a driver, so we have to run an elementary route, and then come back and they're late on the intermediate and the middle school or high school route.
So they just show up to school late?
They just have to show up to school late. Now they're excused because
right,
we have to go.
'cause it's on us.
And then we have the same thing in the evening. But like I said, we're 12 drivers short that we can hire today. But as far as teachers, we start at 46,000. Our goal is to get to 50 soon because that's become more of a standard. So our teachers are paid well. Our benefits are well. We're competitive. We'd like to get it up higher. We're like anybody else. It's tough to find a physics teacher or biology. We hired 3 science teachers this summer, which was amazing. We were able to
Because they're hard to find.
They are. Elementary teachers we can find. But instead of having 25 applicants for a 5th grade position, you might have 10.
Yeah.
But when you come to the high school, like I said, I was a high school business teacher. We hired 2 of those, and they were people that were in the business community. There's a process of transition to teaching, plus we can hire non-teachers based on their degree, et cetera,
Qualifications,
et cetera. And, so like with your real estate background and a degree, you could come teach for us, and we could hire you.
Yeah, is that known out in the public? I would think most people think you have to have a degree of some sort.
It's relatively new in the last 3 to 4 years.
I know it
That's good
exists
to
with
tell.
professors.
Yeah.
Like it's existed for professors for a long
Right.
time, but like for actual, that'd be really interesting for people to do that and know about that and to help, especially, you got a lot of real estate agents whose children go there and would like to give back and get involved.
Well, there's a lot of real estate agents who retired from their 40-year job to do this, maybe.
There's a lot of real
but
estate
that's-
agents who retire from real estate to go do something else too.
Right. Well, what's the average elementary school size?
Class size?
Room.
24.
Yeah.
It
That's
depends.
good.
K through 3, we have a chart we keep. If we're at 24, we're good. We go over that. Depending on the time of year, we'll add another teacher if we have a classroom. For example, Monon Trail right now, we had to take the music room, build a wall up, and then hire 2 teachers. We're going to have to bring in at least 4 trailers this summer at Monon.
I was going to ask you.
Because that's where the big growth area is. Whereas Cary Ridge, we're not having the growth there. But at Maple Glen and there in Shamrock, we took the multi-purpose room and built 2 classrooms inside. Now, in the fall of 26, we'll have some elementary. So kind of give you an idea of, we've grown 1,600 kids across the board. I mean, there's no one grade level. We now have 5 grades that have 800 kids or better in them. And so, and as you get to high school, you'll improve. We do not take transfer kids. Whereas when I was at Beech Grove, we had 1,000 transfer kids.
Yeah.
We don't take them because we don't have room.
So it's like Mount Vernon where I'm at. They like it's not even transfer kids, but you can opt in if there's room. But there's no room for anybody to opt in, right?
Right.
So it's like somebody's in Sheridan, like I want Westfield schools. Like move to
we
Westfield.
we lose kids to Sheridan Heights.
Yeah.
And a few to Carmel because they want to go to a smaller school.
Yeah.
Totally understand.
So you
that.
call Carmel smaller than Westfield?
No, it's not. Enrollment wise, we're not.
But
Land mass wise,
okay.
Westfield's larger than Carmel. Carmel's
Right.
larger than we are. Carmel has 3 middle schools, a large high school of 5,000. We have a high school of 3,000.
They have a college campus.
They do.
That's what they have.
My brother-in-law played football here back in the 60s, and they were a very small school. And now they're larger. But so we spent a lot of time. The first 2 years we spent on strategic planning, doing a lot of work, a lot of community meetings. And for us, we're a K-4 elementary with almost unanimous support, we're going K-5. So we're splitting up the intermediate school. That's kind of the first linchpin of what's going to happen. So fifth grade are going to, we say, stay in elementary as fourth graders, and sixth grade's going to middle school. So we're building a brand new elementary school, Midland Crossing, out off Town Road. They're moving dirt right now. It'll be ready by the fall of 26. That can house up to 700 kids. So that'll help some growth there. Shamrock Springs, where my daughters went to school, is 30 plus years old. It's like a children's museum inside. Yeah. It's got stairways. It was kind of a cool design, but you can't remodel it.
Yeah.
And so we're building on that site where the 4 baseball diamonds used to be, where they're still there. We had to wait till baseball got over, and so we're having groundbreaking on those 2 buildings here at the end of the month. And then we'll build.
You don't have a short of a baseball fields in Westfield anymore.
Well, that's if you can get into Grand Park.
That's fair.
Because
fair.
You know, Grand Park is, I mean, it's a business, and they're coming from all over the country. But we're actually doing some things in that area that I'll talk about. So we're rebuilding Shamrock. It'll be opened up in probably December of 26. Midland Crossing will be opened up in the fall of 26. And simultaneously, the intermediate school will switch to an elementary school. And that'll be called Westfield Elementary School, kind of going back to the Westfield, Washington.
Yeah, the seventh one gets the real name?
Yeah. And so that
all circles back.
That'll take us to, and then the new middle school that's being built out on 32 between Centennial and Little Eagle Creek. That'll host up to 16. Again, we're moving dirt. On that same site, we're building a new transportation center, because we've gone from 40 buses to 130.
So my goodness! In your 4 years, 40 to 100.
No,
okay.
No, that's over the last 10 or 15 years.
Wow.
So I got 2 thoughts here. Okay, so first of all, I want to know how involved you are with the construction process and all of that stuff, or if you just kind of like oversee it, right, and kept up to date. But I feel so this bus situation. When I was like in my mid-20s, we went to Cabo once. And we saw a fire truck in Cabo that was like from Fishers or Carmel, because they like resell the municipalities or the vehicles. That's weird. Why can't we buy double-decker buses from England, and then we cut a route out right there and just stack them?
I love it.
And then in Westfield,
I love it.
I'm just saying, like, we could buy them. It's public transit over there. Let's buy them and rehab them, and then, like, there you go. You don't need 2 routes. You just cram them up in there.
Yeah, we'll do that. Good
just
idea.
Saying. Does
it ever come up?
No, that one doesn't.
Imagine that.
Well, I'm thinking about the roundabouts. Can that double decker get through there?
The overpasses might be a little challenging. But our biggest challenge is
take longer routes.
We can buy all the buses we need to.
You don't have the drivers,
but it takes 12 months or longer to get them here. There's a backlog on buses, and
bus business.
Buses have tripled in prices like anything else.
Yeah.
Buses are nicer than. Like, I've been for a school trip with my kids and stuff.
Yeah, they're nicer.
They're nicer than what I dealt with.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? They actually have seatbelts sometimes.
Yeah. I remember back in the day when the first trailers came out for the high school, and how mad everybody, like angry. Are parents angry right now?
Well, we don't have any trailers as of yet.
Right,
okay?
but are they just...
Are you anticipating?
Yeah,
I
mean, are they okay with just understanding where they're living is just you're doing the best you can, or are there a lot of backlash and stuff?
Well, I think the biggest concern is trying to keep our class sizes small, and we've been able to do that up till now. The middle school and intermediate school, it's very jam packed. But again, the thing is, we announced our plan 18 months ago, really, when we went to every civic organization, so everybody's really bought in. Yeah, they realize that this is really kind of beyond our control. So we'll be, I tell people what we're doing right now with, in essence, 2 new elementary schools, converting the intermediate to an elementary, building a new one, redoing Shamrock, and then our second middle school, and we're really creative. We're going to have Westfield Middle School East and Westfield Middle School West, because we anticipate we'll have a north or south. I mean, we're in the process right now. We met yesterday talking about, okay, where can we build the next middle school? And, don't put this on social media, we are discussing the second high school, but that decision will come down the road.
Yeah.
And that'll be a community decision. I remember when Carmel was having the whole discussion about going to Second High School, and I lived in Fishers, and that's why I moved to Westfield, because then they had 400 kids in high school.
Yeah.
And so, I got asked at the chamber, what about a second high school? I said, that is something we have to plan for, but that's still a community decision.
Yeah.
Our community is going to we'll have a lot of meetings when we get to there. Hopefully I'll be retired by that time. No, I'm just kidding.
You've already retired
You've already
once.
done it once.
But I think in the next 2 to 3 years, we need to start that discussion.
Yeah.
Do you want to?
Because if you don't do it, you need to have the plan as
Right.
opposed to it, right?
And
Because
the
in
biggest
Martinsville, I grew up, we had an East-West middle school,
Yeah,
right?
right.
It was a big rivalry.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
the whole thing, right?
Well, that's what Fishers, when they split to 2 high schools, I can't
Yeah.
imagine the rivalry that really have
it's
to
a
deal
thing.
with.
It's a thing. That's interesting though, because I would think you got to be 6 to 10 years ahead of that.
Yeah,
Almost.
and that's kind of what we're looking at right now. We believe that we'll build an elementary school very soon, even though we're building one now. And again, I don't want to get too deep into what's going on in Westfield build-wise. You guys probably have a good feel for that.
I was going to ask you, do you happen to know, since you've been there, how many neighborhoods have come online? Do you know that number?
Yeah, because you got to bus them.
I've got a chart on my wall with the date that it started. I understand all that. My concern
I was just curious if
is
you knew that number.
I don't have the top of my head.
Okay.
You could have just made it up. We would have bought it.
Yeah.
50, 20, 100?
74 and a half.
All I know is that there's probably under construction right now. There's at least 30 neighborhoods
Under
from
construction.
that
Wow.
from 2020 on are under construction.
Yeah.
And the chart we have, again, the city has done a great job working that, so we know how many homes are going in there. The concern is what we're doing right now just gets us caught up.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we're planning, again, we met yesterday and talked about that where do we buy that land for the third middle school, because we're going to have one.
Yeah.
We know that the ninth elementary school, there's one developer that's talking about a large number of houses over on Hortonville.
Yeah.
Enough that neighborhood itself will be a new elementary school.
Wow.
In addition to the numerous acreage, because again, we meet with developers and we're learning a lot about what's going in, where is it going, and we know it's west. And so we're in the process of buying land. We bought 200 acres at Centennial and Little Eagle Creek for $63,000 an acre, and that's a steal.
Yeah.
Because right now it's 70 to 75, and we're talking out in the country. And so we're looking for 125, 30 acres for a potential second high school down the road. And you at least have 75 for a middle school and probably 30 for an elementary. So if you have any relatives, you can donate. It'd be a great tax write-off.
Yeah, that'd be good.
But
I mean,
we right now,
death tax is a lot.
we've got planned. We've got the buildings designed. We're breaking ground. We're moving on this, but this just gets us caught up.
Here's my thought. This has always been kind of my qualm with Westfield. And we've talked about it here, actually. Westfield always has concerned me because of this growth, which was so rapid. It's, almost unprecedented. It reminds me of a reversed Greenwood. So Greenwood built all the commerce, and then the housing came, right? The headache you have in Greenwood, which I went to Greenwood a ton growing up, like every weekend, actually. You can't really get anywhere without going through the commerce, right? Which causes massive traffic problems, right? It's slow, it is what it is. Westfield, I feel like, was the opposite, where all the housing was put centrally, and now all the commerce is coming on the back end to perimeter it almost.
Right.
And is that going to be an issue because the infrastructure itself grew so quickly, it's really hard to plan around it, quite honestly. It's we've watched it, right? So somebody would buy up, right over there by Riverview. It's hey, we got this, the Meyer went in, right? And you've got the strip of, there's a Portillo's over there that I just ate at.
Oh, 32 was crazy. I
Right.
watched that grow going to and from a workout place. And I was
But
oh my gosh, every time I come back, there's another
thing. There's
Yeah.
Culver's, there's everything.
Crazy.
But where's the next spot where there's commerce from there, right? And so, what you've got Union, right, into town, which is going to be a different vibe anyways. And so I just wonder if you ever hear that or think about that, because, I literally just, this is Greenwood flip-flop, and I hope they don't run into an infrastructure problem because the residential grew so rapidly.
Well, I think, and I don't want to speak for Mayor Willis, but I've been in a lot of meetings, and
That's probably forefront of what he thinks about.
Yeah, and he's talked about building villages. In other words, for example, out by Hortonville, not only are you going to, a neighborhood's going to go in, but they're also going to have retail. You know, when they built the gas station by Chatham, a buddy of mine lives there, he goes, thank God I can get gas now.
Yeah.
You know, so, I mean, there's a Starbucks going in, there's an Arby's going in, so... and again, part of the plan that the mayor's talked about openly, he did a great job. As soon as right before he took office, he invited every realtor, every developer to a large meeting, and he talked about the concept of building not just housing additions but small communities throughout. And you know, similar to what Carmel had done in the past with
Village
some of
West Clay, or like think about. I mean, when you were down at Decatur, like what Canby did.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
Like,
yeah,
I'm surprised we don't see more of that.
Well,
honestly.
I think the developers need to be helpful with that. Like, they come in and they just want to do their houses, but they need to understand what they're doing to the community and help a little bit there too. And I don't know how that even all works.
Heartland Crossing was a really, ahead of its time idea back in the
Absolutely.
day. It really, really was. And I'm surprised it's not mimicked. Village West Clay, like I said, has done it.
Everybody was like, what? That is just weird.
But it works really, really well. I'm trying to think who else has done it. I don't really see many.
Well, you were talking about the neighborhood that's coming in that will just fill your entire elementary school.
Hortonville.
We live in Carmel. We lived in Waterstone, and we were that neighborhood. So when Cherry Tree opened, we became Cherry Tree, just our neighborhood. And then when Prairie Trace opened, we became Prairie Trace. So my kids went to 3 elementaries before they got out of elementary school, just because our neighborhood, it was big enough to just go open this next school, open the next school. And that was really kind of weird, but I always said it was really good for the kids because they ended up knowing everybody in junior high because they all went to school together once or twice.
Well, I think that's exactly what we're foreseeing. For example, again, the Midland Crossing Elementary School, that'll fill up pretty quickly over the next 3 to 4 years, and that's south of 32. And so, based on how fast those neighborhoods develop to the north of 32. And so that we're looking at land out there for that 3rd middle school because they're going to fill up quickly. And we're talking about the 9th and the 10th elementary school. So we're monitoring, working with the city, and we've got just we had a great relationship with Mayor Cook and his team. Same thing with Mayor Willis. They keep us informed. And Mayor Willis and I and my team, we meet quarterly for lunch and just to talk about what's going on. And so we're trying to get ahead of it. The good thing is all this work we're doing. In addition, we bought the public library. That's going to become Shamrock Station. It's going to be extension of the high school with our culinary arts program and some other stuff. Again, we'll remodel the old transportation. That'll become operations because we released the operations building. But we're in the mindset right now. Where's the 9th? Where's the 10th? Where's the elementary? And if there is a second high school, and I say if, where does that go? And my thoughts on a second high school is I like to build a nice 3A high school and grow into it, you know. And but you know, we'll cross that bridge when it comes. But that'll be truly a community effort, community decision. We'll have tons of inputs, tons of discussion when we get to that point. But we'll probably start talking about that 2-3 years from now. We'll start that discussion. We're also adding on the high school. We're adding 9 classrooms and some multi-purpose space that's in desperate need. And because
that's the first to go, right? When you're growing, all those extras.
Yeah.
When you're talking about the culinary school, so tell us, I know that you have the Pursuit Institute, so tell us about that. That's different from what my kids were able to do at J. Everett Light.
Yeah, if you take the concept of J. Everett Light and the McKenzie Center over in Lawrence Township, as you know, well, there was one Lawrence High School, Lawrence Central High School, and then North Central, and as they've grown, we built these service centers, the C9 down to the south side where kids go to, and so the schools in Hamilton County outside of Heights and Sheridan have become so large, they can build those within the school. Mm-hmm. And my experience as a principal at Decatur Central, if you've got a program on your campus, you're going to have more kids attend it. Our CNA program, when we were going to North Central, we had 30 kids. Well, now we teach it within our high school, we have 90. And so the more we can build locally within, I mean, our Project Lead the Way, our construction, we're going to start welding. We've talked about auto mechanics as an option. We talked about cosmetology, but we just don't have the space to host our own. We're trying to get an ROTC program in that could be shared with all of Hamilton County. We've been talking about with the person at Quantico on that. So we're large enough we can build a lot of our own programs. For example, like Heights are coming down to take some of our program. We can go to Heights. So the concept of the Pursuit Institute, we're large enough we can share some things. Our kids go to Noblesville for law enforcement, and Noblesville, Sharon, and other kids come to us for we have a fire safety program. The city of Carmel donated a ton of fire uniforms. We joke that we need to get spray paint Carmel off, but
it's good marketing for the
city of Westfield. Just,
Gray tape works. You know,
yes,
you just put that and write it in a
City of
marker.
Westfield just donated 2 fire trucks. So for our kids. So, see, I did Pursuit Institute
Can I drive a fire truck?
that we're teaming together for success. We can share it up here. Now, we can still send kids to J. Everett Light if we don't have a program, which is just a great partnership.
So what do you think the biggest misconception of what you do is?
Me as a superintendent?
Yeah. Because it's a job. Everybody knows it. And I don't think most people, it's like real estate. You don't know what I actually deal with unless you're in my industry to a certain extent or married to somebody in this industry, I guess.
Yeah, that's the other one.
Right. And so, like, I don't think most people have a clue what you oversee and what your job is really like. And they probably think it's way easier than it is, for the record. Because, like, it gives me a headache just thinking about what you're thinking about, quite honestly. So.
Well, there's a reason I don't have any hair. So, no, actually, I could grow a great ponytail. I decided not to have a Gene Katie comb over. I just actually.
You could be like Jesse Ventura, where
yes,
he's like got the.
No, I shaved this. Dave Rather was my longtime assistant principal at Decatur Central, and he was battling cancer. Myself and 3 other administrators, we all shaved our head together.
That's awesome.
And I've got that picture in my office, and Dave has since passed away. The gym at Decatur Central is named after Dave Rather, and I kind of keep it shaved in honor of him. He was
That's
one of
beautiful.
my dearest
That's
friends.
nice.
But, you know, my job, it's very simple. It's about relationships.
And you
Simple.
have a ton. You know everybody.
And, you know, and so when I first got there, you know, we started going in the community and going to people's houses, and they invite 5 or 6 neighbors, bring some cookies, lemonade. That's why I've gained the 20 pounds that I lost back. But I also do cookies with Kaiser once a month on Thursday afternoon at 1 o'clock. I go to the high school, invite anybody to come in. We talk about any topic they want to. So my job is about setting systems in place. We use what's called a Baldrige model with system-to-system meetings, and it was about getting. I mean, we've had some great superintendents at Westfield. Dr. Keene was here for 20 years. Sherry did a good job in the time she was here, but the biggest challenge is we're 1 elementary, 1 middle, 1 high school. Now we're this large system, and we spent the last 3 years with our team, John Atha, Chris Baldwin, and Brian Tomamichael, 3 assistant soups, you know, just getting our systems in place. But my job's all about relationships. You know, it's providing insight to our principals, inviting insight. I go to all 10 buildings. I spend an entire day in 10 buildings, and I just sit down. Teachers come in. We've been to 3 buildings so far. I just say, tell me your success stories. Tell me what I can do to enhance teaching and learning. And the teachers come in. I feed them, of course, and bribe them with food. And I've done that for the last 15 years of my career. I've got to be able to listen to teachers, listen to community members. That's why I do cookies and with Kaiser. During the referendum, even though we were dropping the tax rate, we were in a lot of homes and talking to a lot of people. I invited any teacher who wanted to come in my first year, come in and talk to me, tell me what's on your mind. I still do. A lot of superintendents do that, but my job's about building relationships, working with key communicators. I've got a 2 or 3 page spreadsheet of just what I call key communicators. We do a Shamrock Academy. We've done our 4th year. We invite, in a lot of schools, we invite 25 community members come in, and we take them all over the district. They learn about transportation. They understand why we have late buses.
Yeah.
So my job, I tell people, unlike being superintendent at Monrovia and Beech Grove, where I had my hands in everything, I'm like Lawrence Welk.
Yeah.
Now, you know, my team selected.
There's so many people. I have no idea what you just
Yeah, I
said.
know it. So he's the leader of the band.
Yeah,
okay,
my
you know.
grandma watched him every Saturday night.
Yeah.
I know.
So my job is, and I have to lead by example. I've got to make some tough decisions. You know, COVID, I'm the one that decided on the mask. I don't want my board to have to deal with that. People didn't like it. It is what it is.
Your shoulders are big enough that you can
Yeah,
deal with it.
and
Yeah.
so, but it's setting a tone. Like I send quotes out to my staff every Monday. I send quotes for the week
Aw.
because I try to connect with them as much
Yeah.
as I can. I don't get in the buildings as much as I want, but you know, I've got to constantly be thinking the next step, the next step, the next step when you're growing. At Beech Grove, when I was superintendent, it was different. We had an 80% poverty rate. I want to make sure kids get fed. I want to make sure, and we got a 20% poverty rate in Westfield. And
people do not understand that. They think Hamilton County has no poverty.
No.
Everywhere has poverty.
I know, but Hamilton County gets a rap of why do we need to worry about that?
So here's a fact for you. So we're building the University Center, and we're going to have 8 classrooms, offer a lot of, right now you can get your MBA through Indiana State in my office. We're working with Purdue and Ball State and all the universities. But there are 30,000 people in Hamilton County that have started their college degrees and did not finish. And for example, Indiana State has a program. They'll take whatever credit you have and they'll work with you and get you a degree in leadership, which then could lead to the MBA. And, I was surprised at 2 things when I came to Hamilton County. One, the number of people that don't vote. So whoever it is, get out and vote here a month from today, I believe. Get out and vote.
It is a month from today.
I was shocked, even my number of my parents that are not registered to vote. And you would think in Hamilton County there'd be more. And I won't tell you, I won't get into politics of who you vote for, but just get out and vote. Mm-hmm. I'm going to do an absentee ballot. Get out and do that. You need to have a voice with that. But the other thing that really surprised me, having lived in Westfield, when I walked in the high school first day, to see our global diversity. Mm-hmm. We have kids from 80 countries that speak 80 different, and Carmel's the same way.
Yeah.
But they see Carmel that way. They don't see Westfield. You walk into our elementary school, it's like, whoa, this is really cool. We got kids from all over the world. And you can register online to enroll here, but a lot of our limited English parents, they come to our office because one of my receptions is from Latvia and the other one speaks, fluent Spanish. We have parent liaisons in different languages. The number of our parents that are now working for us that don't look like you and I, and they come from culturally diverse, which I think is great for the community of Westfield. Yeah. And again, I keep on talking about, I want to bring more foreign exchange students in to teach the cultural diversity. We had a group of students from Japan visit us this spring and this summer. We sent kids to Japan. We're sending kids to Germany. And again, we have to formally teach our guiding principles and what we're trying to do, and also teach that cultural diversity, because these kids have to live in it. It's the world in which we live. You guys know that. You know who's buying homes in Westfield, and we're buying, and it's very different than what it used to be, and it's great. It's great for our community.
Can I ask you a real estate question? Mm-hmm. So
Are you looking to buy or sell?
No, I'll keep my little house in Plainfield.
Do you have an agent?
Plainfield, he drives that every day.
I live in a little 1,500-foot house on Crystal Bay.
With good fishing, you said.
Good fishing. Good. So.
We know that we have a Carmel Westfield transposition of addresses, whereas they say Carmel, but they're really Westfield and Backford.
Same thing with Sheridan.
Yeah.
So I have a question. Do
you guys have that too? You have Carmel addresses that
That's
go
what
to
I'm saying.
Westfield
I lived
schools.
in Village Farms. It was a Carmel address. I lived in Monrovia, and it was a Martinsville address. It's all based on your post office.
So do you ever have parents move in and say, that's not the school I wanted? They didn't understand. They weren't told properly what they were doing, because I've heard it happening that they're like, I thought I moved to Carmel. I thought I moved to Westfield. And nobody explained to them that may say that, but it's not the school system.
We don't get a lot of that. If they're smart, they're going to look at their tax bill and it tells you what your school district. And most realtors are really good. I mean, they're going to really push this as Westfield schools.
I've just heard a few times that somebody's like, I did not
Clay
want to be in this
Terrace,
school system.
just north of Clay Terrace.
That's Carmel, but that's where I live.
That's all
It's just-
Westfield.
I didn't know if that was a problem that continues to happen.
Parts of Chatham are shared an address, but they go to our school.
Well, first of all, okay, so that's weird though, because you got a really nice neighborhood, and you're at 216th Street. When I moved to Indianapolis, those were cornfields.
Yeah.
That was not a golf course community up there.
Everything north of 32 is cornfields.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. It really, really was. Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on. I'm sure we're gonna have tons more stuff. I'd love to have you back on, just because I think this will
catch up with what you're
stuff.
finding.
Yeah.
In the stats, we'll talk about a little bit of what we see in Westfield in the housing. So
you can go first. Mine's really easy. I'll just do mine real quick, because I want to talk about that with yours. And tied into him. In Fishers, Okay, it's just weird. It's not weird. It's actually really easy to explain. I just want people to understand what's going on. I had 57 go on the market. 27 are still active.
Wow. And Fisher's
that number is
57.
wrong. I'm sorry, 35.
Okay.
Yeah, I wrote the wrong number down. 27 are active, and then 8 are pended. But 30 actually pended for the week, right? There's over 200 now on the market in Fisher's. I have 208. But the piece I want to talk about is average days on market, and I'll do that at the end. Because so Noblesville had 36 go on the market. 32 of them are active, so only 4 pended within a 7-day period,
Wow.
right?
Yep.
But 23 actually pended, right? So when I talk about that, like, it was on the market for 7 days and pended already. And then we look at stuff that had been on the market 8 days or more, so there's 23 of those. And there was 192 on the market in Noblesville. And, our inventory is like kind of staying the same, kind of going up a little bit. We're obviously way higher than where we were like 6 months ago. Days on market, we just talked about this, that days on market was 58, 60. It is coming down.
For you?
It is coming down.
Mine are going up.
Mine is 40 and 18. 40 days average on market, median 18.
For Noblesville?
For basically both.
Both?
One's 40 and 18, one's 40 and 16. Noblesville's 40 and 16. And I don't know, like you're sitting for a while, but you're selling. I just sold one in 3 days, and I've got one that's been on the market 14 days, and I'm not worried about either of them.
Right.
Obviously the one pended, so I'm not worried about it. But the one that's been on the market 14 days, you're above $500,000 in Fisher's. If you don't sell it, then this is
You're
what
still
your days
below
on
the
market.
average anyway, so
Exactly.
you're still good.
So, but the number is coming down, which is really interesting that yours is going up, especially if, like, we talk about Westfield, right?
And I broke Westfield
Yeah.
out of new build versus resale because talking about this and stuff, just really wanted to dive into that a little bit. Yeah.
It's almost like a slightly different market, quite honestly, of the buyer, right? Or it's a petite buyer, or it's a timeliness buyer, or whatever. I don't know. Resales in particular, rates have gone up a little bit, for the record. They were down and they've
up
gone
and down,
back
up and
But
down. We need to get through
I
the
just think it's
election,
gonna
I
be-
think. I just think that's just
I do
causing a
too.
lot of issues.
I think Springs is insane. I really do.
Yeah. So in Carmel, 28 hit the market, but 35 total pended. We lost inventory. Everything we gained, we lost minus even plus 7. But 12 of those pended immediately, 35 total pended. But average days on market in the 7-day sales was 28, median was 20. So that's kind of staying the same. It was the sold over 30 days that is actually come down on days on market, which is, so what you were saying, I would say, is current sales are down. It's the active homes that are just going up with days on market. So of those 113
Fair.
that's
I looked at pended. I did not look
Yeah.
at active days on market. Although
So-
they're slightly tied, but that's going to be a higher number for sure.
it's going to continue to go up. It has to with the amount of houses that are on the market
Correct.
that need to sell. So 23 average, 10 median. So yes, those are showing better numbers. 99% list to sale ratio. In Carmel, there's 151 active. Average days on market for those are 85.
That's down 3 days from last week. It was 88 last week.
So 50 median. So it's almost getting to 3 months. And then 29 in Carmel are new builds. So if we go to Westfield, 30 hit the market. 9 of those pended. 21 total pended. Average days on market of those 7 days was 33. Median was 9. So you're correct on the, what you were saying. I was looking at active. And then in the ones that have sold in the past 32 days, 142 sold. 72 of those were new builds. With the average days on,
50%,
so average days on market was 30 and the median 12. Now that's including the new builds. So I pulled out the new builds. So if we do new builds only, there's of the actives, 14 are currently active in the 30 days of new builds. 14 new builds sold. 13 are pending. Average days 8, median 6. So those sells pretty quickly. 72 sold in the past 30 days. Average days on market 29 and 14. So it's still pretty much the same if we look at resales, all including, it's 30, 12. The list to sale ratio with new builds is about 98% list to sale ratio. So what does that tell you, agents? you can actually negotiate with new builds right now.
I've been doing that for months.
I know,
Yeah,
but
you-
it does.
you can
It
be
shows when you
new
pull it
builds up.
out because it shows our negotiation. So the resale, if we look at those, 70 sold. The average days on market was 32 and 7. So the median is lower on resale than new builds, which is taking that apart. But just showing that we have 50% of all the houses available. There's 204 currently active on the market today. 83 are new builds. So
That's a lot. So for him, that's 72 potentially.
new families.
Yeah, which could be anywhere between
Well,
0 and like 5 kids.
yeah,
right?
well, 142 sold in the past 30 days. So if you continue to look at that, that's about where we set every 30 days. That's how many households are set. But we are pulling people out, remember, if it's
Yeah.
not a new build. So if we look at 72, like you said, that's the
But I don't-
new families.
So even those resales, like maybe we should look at this at some point. I wonder how many of the resales were built since, what do you think, 2016, which means they moved there. You know what I mean? And they're just moving into a second home within Westfield. Like, I wonder how many resales predate 2016 in Westfield.
Oh, I don't know. You're going to have to do that.
Yeah, because it's work. Thank you.
No, it's because it's,
It's gonna take
it's
a
like,
pain
that's
in
a
the
lot
butt,
of
dude. Yeah.
numbers. Sounds like an Excel spreadsheet. No, I don't wanna do that.
I don't know.
Um,
It's interesting though. Like what you're talking about, like rapid growth. I mean, this is 1 month.
And that's an average every month.
Well, if you talk to Brian Michael, who has a house at near town and where the new elementary is going, most people on his cul-de-sac are not from Indiana. The number of people we have moving in out of state because, one, our property taxes
Are low.
are low.
Yeah, but everybody
Okay.
wants to complain about them.
Oh yeah, we're in the top or the bottom 10%, and there's a lot of discussion about changing it. We just need to keep where it is. We don't want to affect cities and schools any more than they already have, and but the number of people that are moving in because of the jobs and affordable housing. I mean, they moved from the East Coast to the West Coast. My daughter just moved from Temecula, California to Florida and Tampa. And she got larger house for a lot less mortgage.
Yeah.
And
Well, we know that because our phones ring. I'm moving from California. I'm moving from Texas.
Dallas,
I'm moving from
yeah.
Dallas. Everybody, they're tired of the weather down there.
Yeah.
But that is very true because what they see is the media. Westfield and Carmel's in the national media all the time.
Right, yeah.
And they said, we heard about Carmel. I'm like, do you have family here? No. Like, you didn't just throw a dart. They have investigated and they want better living for their kids, the school systems, the towns, the livability and all that stuff. People come all over just because they read about it and they don't want to be where they are anymore. It's very interesting. It used to be, I thought people moved for jobs and that was about, you never took off and went to a different state for the fun of it. Now people are like, I don't know a soul, but that's where we're heading. And they buy houses and they don't have any idea where they're going, what they're doing, but they've heard great things. So that's what's really interesting about that.
The other thing would be interesting to look at your data, the age. So during our referendum process, I was at the polls every day. And the number of grandparents who I talked to that are moving here
Yes,
to be near
absolutely.
kids.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Whether it's the retirement communities, but they're coming here to be near their kids.
That's why you have the
Del Webb and
Webbs,
Epcon.
Epcons.
And that's what we see a lot. I live in Epcon, and most of the people that have moved in there, I don't know what the percentage, but are here to be near their grandkids. And we hear that a lot. We're coming here to be near our grandkids. And the amount of housing that was available for that prior to Del Webb and Epcon, there was zero.
Yeah.
So it's here now, and that's why I think we start to see that coming.
And that's great for schools because the assessed valuation is increasing, but yet they don't have kids.
Correct. So it doesn't tax the system, but you get the income to help offset.
The thing that's amazing to me when you see these neighborhoods where there's $1 million home and you go in there and there's a young couple with young kids. And I think that just tells you the difference between now. These are young couples, they're in finance, they're in business, and they can afford this. And they're coming to Westfield. They're coming here because the amenities, the Grand Park, now the new restaurants that are going in a great school system, similar to what Carmel and Southeastern have gone to. And it's a lot easier to get downtown on 31 than it is
Absolutely.
69.
31 made a huge difference for Westfield. It used to be, a 30-minute drive, and now it's 10. So,
And I think you're going to see the difference in Heights and Sheridan now that the interstate's going up and you're starting to get some infrastructure up there. I think you're going to see a lot of tremendous growth in Heights in Sheridan if the community and the town accepts all that, just because of the accessibility.
Yeah,
I mean,
and Kokomo's become, to me, I've heard more people talk about that because of 31.
well, and again,
31's got
opening
that.
the new battery plant up in north of Kokomo, I think you'll
They
see
don't
a
even
lot.
have housing for the builders.
Well, they're actually building housing up
Yeah.
there for the workers.
That's what I mean. Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I mean, we're about to put in a $2.3 billion plant. Well, that takes a lot of people to build, and there wasn't enough rentals. There's not enough housing. All of that stuff. Let alone once the workers, right? So
And you'll see a lot of those people come down to Westfield and Zionsville. Again, Westfield's a little bit more accessible. So
Yeah.
I think we're going to see an impact over the next year or two as that plant builds out.
same with Lilly
Yeah.
over there in Lebanon
Yes.
too.
Yeah. Lebanon's growing. They just opened a new elementary school. And they just, I think Lilly just announced some more X billion dollars they're going to invest in that once they get the water, you know.
Yeah,
to it.
yeah.
So-
Well, the
the whole
sprawl's been interesting because of COVID, and then the prices going up and up and up. The amount of people that are moving as far as they can to get still near where they need to work,
Right.
but getting out to the affordability
Right.
is what. So Lebanon and Sheridan was never on that.
Anderson.
Crawfordsville, and I mean, all
Yeah.
of those houses were never, something that people would think about if they lived right here. But now they're like, I can work from home, I can do all this. So that's been very interesting to watch. Yeah.
I'll be curious if it starts to go, since you got some South Side roots like I do. Mooresville has seen some benefit of that. I think they'll continue to see more. I hope Martinsville does. I mean, look at Bargersville. Bargersville's so different from when, like,
Bargersville's crazy.
it'd be like, what's Bargersville? It's like Waverly Inn. That's about all you guys.
Had the
Good,
bike
good
bar.
catfish.
They
You
had
know?
the bike bar, and that was about it.
Yeah,
Oh,
there's nothing down
Well,
there.
in 1975, Center Grove High School had 500 kids. I went to Cathedral, we had 500. And now they're 3,000, we're 3,000. We're the same size as Center Grove.
Wow.
And they have 2 middle schools. And again, we're building our second from that standpoint. And it's so much as accessibility. And like you said, if you can work from home, now they're looking at larger houses with 2 offices.
Yeah.
Because mom and dad are going to work from home and they can watch their kids. And, the biggest thing, give an example, we opened up a brand new early learning center 2 years ago. It was full on the first day. So as we speak, we're adding 13 classrooms to that building. It'll be ready this summer, and they'll be gone like that. So we're talking about where we're going to build the next early learning center for our staff. I mean,
Yeah.
our staff, as soon as they become pregnant, they apply to get their infant into our early learning center. So one of the things that, in addition to the next elementary school, we'll be talking about where's the next early learning center going to go, just to accommodate our staff and our young parents. And we'll do that more to the south of the district, so a lot of our parents can drop and then go toward Indianapolis, because right now they got to go from Cary Ridge up to our place, which is almost on the Sheridan border, and then they have to go back down. So we're already talking about that in what we call it, our plan. We call it Destination Westfield because they're coming, and so we're already working on Destination Westfield 2.
Yeah, well,
from
I
that
know the
standpoint.
Economic Development Board or the Committee the Economic Development of Hamilton County, their biggest thing right now is childcare.
Yes, absolutely.
Because you may have workers that want to work for you, but they
Yeah.
can't.
Right.
And that's been a very interesting issue to talk about in the meetings that I go to, that the amount of workforce available that can't work is a huge amount of people sitting there because where do I take my children? I can't.
Yeah.
And the affordability for some of the workers.
Carmel
Right.
has that massive struggle with that. Like,
Yeah.
Everybody, it's a statewide thing
it's hard
too.
to
but
work
Hamilton
here
County-
and live here. Not
Right.
everybody can do it.
Right.
So.
Yeah, so you're dropping your kids really far away. I'll do Zionsville.
But that's
real
also
quick.
why Westfield grew up so quick, right? Because it's
Absolutely.
like that's where they went, and then like that obviously created this massive growth, right?
Do Zionsville real quick. 6 hit the market. 1 of those pended. 5 total. So 16 days on market. The amount of houses that sold in 30 days was 36. And 16 average, 5 median, so low, just because their inventory is so low. I have a client trying to get in the village. Anybody know of a house coming on in the village? That's all she wants to do is live in the village. You sold one there. They don't come on the market, and when they do, they're gone. So if you know of one.
I sold it in 6 hours.
Yeah. I grew up in Zionsville. I love that little place. So in active, 66 are totally active right now. Average days on market, 89, median 65. So the ones that are active, their days on market are creeping up.
Well, I just want to thank you for coming on here. I'd love to
Yes.
have you on here again. I think it's a lot of information.
I think it's a lot of information a lot of people don't know and see that there is a plan.
And they
Like,
don't
you have
understand
one.
how housing is correlated to it. Well, like our housing is what created your problem, right? You know, like us selling and moving people there then creates this, and then it's just going to be this like perpetual cycle, and they're all interrelated.
Anything you want to add that we haven't talked about?
Come to Cookies with Kaiser.
Yeah,
That's all I keep
I think so.
thinking
Yeah,
about.
that's.
Like,
I
let's
got to
plug
make sure
that.
we put that out there as well.
What kind of cookies though? Are we like talking about like good cookies, or you just
good
buying a little box from
No,
Marsh?
good cookies.
Marsh is no longer
I
around.
know, that's why I said that. I didn't want
one
to throw
thing-
anybody under the bus.
One thing I will tell you is,
That's a good point.
you know, I feel like we've been transparent on what we're doing, how we're doing it. Not everybody agrees with my decision. That's fine, especially when it comes to snow delays.
Oh, yeah, I can't
I
imagine.
see that on social
Talk
media.
about childcare.
But,
The one
you
that I
know,
think is interesting is fog. The fog delays.
Yes, that's really challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, my cell number, we send a Shamrock blast out every Thursday at 4 o'clock. And it has a plethora of information. I would encourage you, as you have clients, you can go on our webpage and see those, because that tells the story about Westfield. Plus, my cell number's on there. And,
Oh, my goodness.
I give my cell number out.
That's
and,
awesome.
and it's in the back.
That's what the mayor of Fishers does.
It's in the
sometimes.
back of there. Call me, and if you have a concern, and you know. But I think it's important. No matter where you're going, shop the schools.
Yeah.
You know, and luckily we have great schools. I mean, Sheridan and Heights are great school systems. If you want a small learning environment with, you know, great schools. And I mean, all the schools in Hamilton County. Like we just added an ag science program. We're building a greenhouse and really enhancing that side of it. I mean, the number of AP scholars and everything, all the schools have wonderful. Hamilton County is a great place to live and work. But shop the schools. I'll meet with any parent anytime. I had a parent that they were in Carmel and they wanted to come to Westfield. I sit down and talk to them, and they enrolled their 3 kids in school here. And but I'll meet with any parent anytime to talk about what we're doing and how we're doing. And again, I give tours once a month on Thursday afternoons at 1 o'clock, Cookies with Kaiser. And I want them to walk around the high school because, one, I want them to see our global diversity.
Yeah.
Because most parents, they want their kids to grow up in the real world.
Right.
Correct.
And that was the greatest thing when my youngest daughter moved from Westfield to Monrovia to Beech Grove. She saw the real world in Beech Grove, a very multicultural, diverse environment. And we have that in Hamilton County. People don't realize that. But
It's
again,
actually, I'm glad you brought that up. I get asked that question a lot when people are looking to move up here, and I don't think people have a clue how diverse it is.
but it's
very diverse.
it's global diversity.
Yeah.
You said 80 countries. That's
Yeah,
very
and I think
interesting.
that's really key. When you look at Southeastern, go to an athletic event and look at the faces of the kids and look at
Everybody's represented.
Yeah,
It's
and
amazing.
from a religion standpoint across the board. I mean, and I think that's really important. You want your kids to grow up in that environment. And just explore the schools and ask a lot of questions. I mean, we're all great schools, and I prefer Westfield, but I just send accolades to all the schools in Hamilton County and in Zionsville and around. Ask a lot of questions. Go meet. I think you'll find all the superintendents and principals are all very willing to meet and talk to people. We had someone move in from out of state, and we set it up so they could have their kid. They were buying in a house, and they got to spend half the day in the intermediate school and half the day at Monon Trail just to get their kids used to. We'll do things like that.
That's very nice.
It's all about kiddos, you know.
So if you want to give out information of how people can reach out to you, what would you like to tell everybody?
317-385-4912 is my cell number.
Nice.
317-385-4912. Call. On the back of the blast, we've got the dates for the Cookies with Kaiser, and then I have on a cell phone call between 8 and 8 because I do like to,
Have a life.
Have a life from that standpoint. And
I need to do that.
I don't get a lot of phone calls, but I do get some. And
Yeah,
so
I
just
think
call.
people, when they see you have put out a cell phone, they don't abuse it.
They don't. It shows transparency and that you're willing to.
Well, you're showing
and that
very
by
much.
itself helps
He's
significantly.
very personable and having all these things with your teachers and everything. That just shows that you care, and they know you care, and it keeps everybody
Salt of the
calm.
earth, because
Yeah.
Monrovia is.
Yeah, you
I'm
came from
South
all of
side.
our country backgrounds.
That's
Well,
great.
thank you. We really appreciate your
Yeah.
time very much, and we'll put this out there so other people can hear more about what you said. I think we covered a lot. But
Yeah,
I'm
well,
Shelly
but-
Walters with the Shelly Walters Realty Group and FC Tucker. You can reach me on my cell phone at 317-201-2601.
And I'm Kyle Morris with Morris Property Group and FC Tucker. My number is 317-649-5122. Have a good week.